Hey everybody, it's Kat, and I want to welcome you to this episode of Backstory Sessions. I'm joined today by my co-host Matt. Hey Matt.
Hey, Kat. Hey, everyone. How are you?
Well, this is episode 2 of season 13, but to me it seems like we've been in season 13 for a long time.
Yeah, that's probably because we've been recording episodes, so.
Yeah, it just the time just gets away from you, and so episode 2. I think this is going to be really interesting because we are going to have a special co-host with us today,
Yep.
Reed Elliotte, who's been a guest before.
Yeah, he was on one of the Mystery Meats episodes, right?
Yes, he was. And he was in corporate kindergarten, and he's in this upcoming show, that The Art of Murder, as well.
Wasn't
And
he recently doing something else that you were telling me about?
yes, he actually is going to be on the Dr. Phil show later this month.
Oh, I wonder why that is.
Well, I guess the listeners will just have to listen to find out. But, we knew, like, when we interviewed him, we knew he was a presidential scholar. He knew all the presidential information,
Right.
and cancer survivor. What else did we learn about him? He's very talented, sings, songwrites,
Yep.
acts, of course. And, and that he wanted to get married and have a family, like that was important to him.
Was that him or was that the other one?
Is what now?
Was that him or was that the other one?
I think Reed. I think Reed was saying that was the top thing of his goals. He also wants to be president, but yeah, he wants to get married and have a family.
No.
But I'm thinking, he was on the Ellen show too, so really he could, the topic he could be on Dr. Phil about is. There's a number of things, so it will be interesting to see.
Well,
Um,
let's hope it's not a paternity thing or something.
yes, I'm pretty sure we can rule that one out
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
but it's an interesting, it's just interesting that we've had a couple of co-hosts before, and it's been a while since we had anyone, to be on the show and ask a question. So
Yeah, who was our last co-host? Do you remember?
maybe it was Corey or Christy.
Yeah, I don't remember which. I want to say it was Christy, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, the time just all, like, the episodes all blend together. It's really hard to separate which season, because I think it was probably before COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty far back there, if I
Yeah.
remember.
So anyways, it's not something that we do all the time or plan to do all the time, but it's certainly, it's very interesting to have a young person's perspective. And so I'll be curious to see what he and Trey Calloway, who is our guest this week, to see what they have in common or what kind of question he's going to ask.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. So, what else is going on? Got some crazy weather here today.
So what's going on with the weather?
No, it's just been, pretty rainy and storming and, lightning and thunder. There's flash flood watch and, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, very similar. It's been like that here, just really like pop-up storms, and then it'll be sunny and, fine, but then just as quickly, the storm comes, and it's been really crazy.
Yeah, it looks like I'm sorry, winter. Looks like summer is coming to a slow end here. It's going to be in the 50s at night this coming week. So, can't wait for
Well,
that.
that seems a little bit drastic, like I like things to, like, you know, step down gradually.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I don't know, almost 80 here right now. So 50 is going to be quite a shock.
Yeah, 30 points. That is. I mean, you'll have to get your you'll have to get your jacket out or something.
Yeah, my electric blanket or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not ready for cooler. So I'm ready for a little cooler, like 75, 80 is not bad. I like
Yeah,
that. But I'm not ready for,
heating bills.
no, barely have survived electric bills. That's been ridiculous too.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it'll be snowing before we know it.
I think that you should be banned from that four-letter word.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it either, but luckily I have a very short commute, so I don't have to worry about that too much.
No, you do not, but it still is like, I don't know. It just makes I mean, okay, everybody wants it for Christmas or whatever, so all right, but
Right.
after that, like no more. That's
Yeah.
what I
Yeah. And then you got 3 months of, crappy weather until spring and, you know,
Yeah, and then spring was like so short. I mean, it shot right up there to 100 degrees before you know it. So
you know,
it's been a very intense heat this summer.
global warming.
Well, and humid too. The humidity is like,
Yeah.
yeah. So thank goodness for air conditioning and for heat.
Yeah.
When the time,
And
but just sounds
ceiling
like,
fans.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what temperature do you turn heat on?
Yeah, usually when I wake up and it's like 60 degrees in the house, that's when we'll turn the heat on.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, because that's just a little cool to wake up and you don't even want to get out of the bed when it's like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know that like we turn it on when it's, oh, it's 65, we've got to turn the heat on. But I mean, I think if we have like a prolonged period of low 60s and it's that cold in the house, then we'll probably turn it on. But
yeah.
I mean, I'm wearing thermal underwear from October to March, so, the cold doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness for that. I mean,
Yep.
it saves on the electric bill too, or heating bill, whatever you heat with. I know it's not electric in your case, but anyways, we're all just like making it and we have things to look forward to the rest of this year and
Yep.
your power update. That's
The
like
tower yeah, it's moving along.
it's one step closer to being, John Deere green up there and
No, it will not be green. It'll either be white or white with blue trim.
well, blue is a good color. So my birthday is coming up too.
Yep. Early November. So
Yeah. So
you're going to a concert, are you not?
I am Ario Speedwagon and Loverboy. So
Loverboy. Wow.
yeah.
I remember reading a story about Loverboy. There was one of the guys in the band. I don't remember who it was, but he was on a sailboat off the coast of California and disappeared, apparently. And
Oh my goodness.
yeah, they never found him. So
Well, I guess I won't be seeing him at the concert, sounds like.
not well. I mean, this was before they became, you know, semi-famous, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of a weird story. Look that up. I
That
don't.
is weird. Well, I will have to. Well, I am looking forward to that because I feel like, that's just a celebratory concert for turning, the age I'll be turning.
Right, the
Uh,
big 6-0.
yes, I think like, that's a good concert for that because that's a lot of my, earlier youth.
Yeah, I mean, the guys in REO, they must be in their 80s now or close to it.
I laugh about that, but I think, it's less than 20 years.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, they've changed the lyrics to their one of their hit songs. It's roll with the changes, but don't break a hip.
well, I'll make sure and sing loud to that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yes, I'm looking forward, to my birthday. And so I just hope, that COVID and, just all the things of the universe like come together and let me have that good birthday.
Well, I mean, you don't want COVID to come together.
Well, I want it to come together and like stay, someplace in the universe that's
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
yeah, not
Well,
down
now
here.
it's monkeypox or something, isn't it?
I know. I know. There is like, there's probably going to be something else that,
Bird flu, I thought was a thing.
yeah, I believe it is a thing. There's
Yeah.
like some things and things we've never even heard or thought about will
Well,
probably
and
be.
and and the damn Kroger app doesn't work.
That is true. Kroger is where it has been 1 month and my app has been torn up. And I have called you, and I've got so many case numbers, and you will not let me order groceries for delivery. So I would appreciate if you could put Gilbert or someone dependable on my case.
Well, yeah, there you go. You put it out there to the universe, so maybe it'll happen.
Yeah, I mean, I need my groceries, so
Yep.
I need to get with it. I'm gonna have to change over to
Walmart.
well, or another place.
Is there another place down there? I know you have limited
Yeah,
options.
well, so like the IGA store
Oh
and Save
yeah,
a Lot,
yeah.
they both are available in DoorDash, but I don't, I mean I do DoorDash things, but
Right.
like, groceries is really it's not the best to shop on DoorDash for groceries.
Understood.
Yeah. I mean, just have to I don't know. I'm just hoping this works. I'll give an update and let
Yeah,
people
yeah.
know.
We'll
But
need to hear about that.
yes, so what else we need to hear about is our guest. He's got a new single out, and we're going to talk to him about that. And also, he writes his own songs. So I'm always fascinated by songwriters. So Trey Calloway it is. And I'm just really excited to hear the backstory of this particular song. And so it's about, liking or missing, I guess you could say, the old country music, the way it used to be.
Oh yeah,
Because a lot of people feel like, that it's like new country is drastically different than,
yeah. Well, I mean it is, but I mean it doesn't mean that it's worse. Not to me, anyway. I mean, some people think it is, but I like some of it, not all of it, but it's good.
I think maybe more than other music forms. I mean, there's not really even rock and roll anymore, is there? I mean, like everything, like all the genres really change.
Yeah, true.
So, I mean, rap has probably stayed more the same, I think, than some other forms, but
Well, you would know. I mean, I'm not. I don't listen to
yeah,
rap very often, but I know you do. So
yeah. So, well, I mean, and there's not as much really to change about it, because it's beat driven and
right.
spoken, and
Yeah.
so. But yes, so this song is about missing country music, and it'll be interesting to see, if he thinks music has, taken a detour for the worse in country, or if he just like wants to celebrate that, old country music was also, wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out, and we'll also find out what Reed thinks about the whole thing.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, let's go talk to him and find out.
Trey, I want to welcome you to Backstory Sessions. It is so exciting to have you as our guest and talk about this latest song that you've released.
Thank you, Kat. It's nice to be here.
Well, there's so many things. I listened to this song. I love this song. It has so much energy and reminds me so much like of my dad, I would have to say. He loved country music. And so as I'm listening to it, I'm thinking like, oh, these are, all the people that I grew up with because my dad would be playing them. So I definitely want to get into the backstory of what inspired that song. But I'd also like to get to know you a little bit and your backstory. So we have a special guest today from our backstory group who gets to ask you a question. So I want to give Reed the opportunity to ask that first question, and then we'll pick up from there with your backstory and get into your latest release.
Very cool.
All right, Reed, let's hear what you have.
Hey Trey.
Hey, Reed, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, well, I just think you and I have a lot in common. I love singing in church. I love Southern gospel, and I love traditional country.
Yes, sir.
And I'm a musician and singer-songwriter myself,
Very
But my question is, what do you feel like from your early childhood has helped you become most successful?
That's a great question, Reed. I would say the honest to God answer is that, well, one, growing up in church gave me an amazing sense of morality, a sense of right and wrong in this world, and also an amazing mom and an amazing dad. I had a great mom and dad growing up. My dad was there to jerk a knot in me if I did something bad, and my mom was the most understanding, caring person ever. So I would say it's a combination of both of those.
Wow, that's good.
That's a great question, Reed. That's a great
Thank
question,
you.
buddy. You
Thank
got
you.
it, man.
Thank you very much.
And so you grew up in North Carolina, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what was it like there? Were you exposed to, was it a music thriving community or?
Well, a little bit about that. So I am from around the middle of North Carolina. My hometown is about 45 minutes north of Charlotte. So I'm kind of from the Piedmont region of North Carolina. And there's lot of bluegrass influence, a lot of Southern rock, a lot of my early kind of influences, some of the earlier bands after I started playing country and getting into, non-gospel, non-Christian type of music was Southern rock. So a lot of my early bands played a lot of Leonard Skinner and Molly Hatchet and 38 Special. So bluegrass, Southern rock, blues, and of course country. From the first time that I heard country music, I was pretty much kind of sold. I knew that's what I wanted to do pretty early on. I always sang from about the age of, 6 years old. My dad was a Pentecostal evangelist when I was growing up. So I would go from church to church with him, singing before he would preach his sermons. And I mean, legs shaking. I'd get nervous back then. My leg would just used to shake uncontrollably. But my mom and dad used to say, well, I couldn't even tell, just like you were dancing to the beat. And it was just the one leg. I don't know why my other one didn't, but this one leg would get to shaking because I was nervous. And then, my mom and dad bought me Country Music Greatest Hits. It was like Country Greats, I think was the name of the album. It was a 2-disc set. And it had like George Jones. My dad is a huge George Jones fan. Everything from George Jones to Waylon Jennings to Merle Haggard to Loretta Lynn, Patsy Cline. So my dad wanted me to have a really deep, ingrained love of traditional country music before he, exposed me to the modern stuff and the 90s country, the Garth Brookses and George Straits and the Alan Jacksons. And then it was, Jason Aldean, and Chris Young and Blake Shelton. So I've just soaked it all up and tried to put my own spin on all that stuff.
And so at a young age, did you realize that you had a gift for music?
Yeah, I wasn't very good at anything else. I played sports pretty much my whole childhood, but it was very, very quick learned early on that, I'm not the tallest guy in the world, not the biggest guy in the world. So professional sports probably wasn't going to be my future, but I always was musical. And from the time when I really did start taking it seriously and trying to make a little bit of money at it, I knew early on that, like music is where I shine, and music is what makes me happy. Baseball was my first love, and I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player, but that wasn't going to happen. I'm only about 5'9".
So when did you start? Did you have lessons for playing instruments, or were
No,
you self-taught?
so I took about 3 vocal lessons that I can remember. I had a wonderful vocal teacher. I can't for the love of me remember her name. I will look that up and see if I can find her. I wouldn't mind seeing what she's up to these days, but she was very good. I only took about 3 lessons, and she moved far away, so I was unable to keep taking lessons with her, and we just never picked them back up. And then guitar was all self-taught. So I was writing songs more like poems, instead of paying attention in class. I was, writing song lyrics down on a piece of paper, and I had the melodies in my head. I knew what I wanted it to sound like, but I didn't have the knowledge yet to put it to music. So I started playing guitar, and I taught myself how to play guitar completely. I played drums earlier on and thought I was going to be a drummer, but then as soon as I figured out that the ladies liked singers and guitar players, I was pretty quick to switch over. Ladies like drummers too, it just depends on the drummer, but it was pretty early on that I was like writing song lyrics. I always was kind of a poet, and I would jot down poetry and jot down poems, and then when I learned how to play guitar, but I just basically, my mom and dad bought me one of those. I don't know if you guys remember, and Reed, I know you're too young to understand, or to remember, but they used to have these. There was a guitar player named Esteban, who was really a famous guitar player for playing like mariachi and classical type of music, and he was selling this guitar on like a TV, like QVC type of thing. And my mom and dad, I saw it and I really wanted it. My mom and dad ordered me this Esteban guitar, and I shut myself up in a room and I played until my fingers bled. I mean, I literally, I think the first day I came downstairs and had learned G, C, and D, and I just had a passion for music. As soon as I picked up a guitar, I kind of took to it. It was almost natural, but I really worked hard. My mom and dad were really supportive. Like I said, that's a big one.
Well, I had a passion for guitar too, and my dad tried to teach me, and I got blisters, and that was the end of it. So,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, when you're first now the tips of my left hand, of the tips of my fingers on my left hand are, I mean, they're almost like plastic, But back when I first started, they were really tender, and they would bleed, they would hurt really bad. So I mean, it's what do they call it? Occupational hazard.
oh, so what's the first song that you wrote that you remember, like, it being something maybe you thought, I'm pretty good at songwriting too?
That's a great question. So I remember 2 songs in particular. The first song that I remember that was any good was called Tomorrow. And it was a song that I had written for my mom and dad. We were going through some tough times when I was a teenager, as far as financially, and struggling a little bit financially. And I wrote this song, that everything was going to get better tomorrow and just to hang on. And I played it for my family when they would come over, my whole family, and they loved it. So that was the first song I remember kind of being like, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this. I think maybe I can maybe do this more often. And then one funny instance was a little later on. I wrote a song that I thought was totally original. The title was Country, which spells country. And I didn't realize that there was a Joe Diffie song called Country. And a girl that I was dating was a big country music fan too. And she heard it, and the melody is like, and I did all this without ever knowing Joe Diffie had written or had a song with the same title, but the melody was the same, and the title was the same. And I was like, well, darn, I thought I'd come up with something good, and she was laughing at me because she did, I had no clue. I hadn't heard the song before, but yeah, it was actually a pretty good song, but it just, we played it for a while, and then people kept coming up and saying, Joe Diffie's got a song called Country, and his is better than yours. So, so I stopped playing it out live. I was probably 14 or 15 at the time.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
it sounds like that you write a lot about experiences like that are happening or personal type experiences. Is that how you find the lyrics, or what's the method you have? What work?
So I do write a lot from personal experiences. A lot of the stuff that I'll come up with, the way I tend to write and read. I hope you're still listening, buddy, because this is something that I hope maybe you can, if you're trying to write songs too, that you can take heed of. So I'll usually be in conversation, and I'll be talking to somebody, whether it's somebody I just met, or my dad or my mom, and we'll be talking, and somebody will say something really clever that sounds like a song title, and I'll go, wow, that's really good, and I'll write it down, and I've got a folder in my phone, and I just, anytime I hear something that catches my ear, I'll write it down, write a little note in my phone, and so a lot of that comes from personal experience, but I'm also a big fan of the old school story song, the cowboy murder ballads, the Marty Robbins, Big Irons, and Poncho and Lefty, the songs that tell a story. I've actually got a song I'm working on right now that is very much a cowboy murder ballad. It's not like anything you hear on the radio. It's a deep cut. It's not going to be a big summertime anthem, but it's a really cool story song about the Wild West, and I'm really excited for y'all to hear that one. I think you're gonna like it.
Oh, so when do you think we might be hearing this one?
We just got, probably next year sometime. So we just got I just talked to my producer that's doing the song right now, and we made a couple of changes to the first mix, and we're just in the process of getting the master done. But I've got some really cool stuff in the works for that song. And I'll also, I'm gonna make a note right now. I'll send you a link to it as soon as I get that. I think you're gonna dig it.
Great. So, what is the songwriting part like? I mean, as far as time, I know some ideas probably come to you quickly, and how long does it take you to compose a song?
That's a great question. I go in spurts. The way I write songs is I might go 2 months without having an idea, and then in the course of a week I'll have 35 ideas, and so it kind of keeps me good. The times when I'm quote unquote hot and my brain is really working, that makes up for the times when I have a little bit of writer's block. And I always write. I mean, I write probably when you get into Nashville, and you go from the place where you sat on your front porch with a guitar in your hands and you wrote every song by yourself, and your whole first album is solo writes of songs that you wrote by yourself, and you're really proud of them. And then you get to Nashville, or you get anywhere in a music scene, even Austin, there's lots of music scenes, but you get into a music scene and you start writing with other writers. You realize that it is a craft. It's something that you have to practice at. So I try to write 3-4 times a week. I'm working on a new album right now, so I'm writing about 2-3 times a week. And it's for me, songwriting is kind of painful sometimes, kind of therapeutic, and not necessarily always a good way. Sometimes it's like digging a knife out of you or something. It's hard to do, and I definitely have always leaned towards the entertainer side of the music business. I love playing shows. I love recording. I love making the crowd happy. And the songwriting aspect I do because I have to. I have to get those words out of me. But it's some people love songwriting, and for me, songwriting is really a labor. Sometimes it's really a labor of love, and it's hard to explain, Kat. It's hard to explain, but these are all great questions you're asking me. And I like it.
Great. Well, besides writing that song for your parents, have you written songs for other people? And if so, what were their thoughts?
Well, I've written quite a few love songs for ladies that I was interested in throughout the course, and some of them liked them. I think it depends on more of the woman's opinion of me more than anything. Some women liked it, some women don't like it to have songs written about them. But yeah, I've written several songs for my dad. I actually just wrote a song for my grandma about my grandma that I'm really excited to record as well. She loved Elvis Presley very much, as most women from that generation did, and she was a big inspiration, with Jesus and religion in my life, and a great role model. And she lived with us most of my childhood. She lived in the house with us, and so I was very, very close to her. She was one of my closest relatives. And when she passed away, I took it really hard and wrote a song about a month ago with my buddy Kyle Coolahan, and it really turned out good. And I've got so much great material that I'm working on. I can't wait for you guys to hear it.
Yeah, me either. These sound incredible. So when you decided, this is going to be your career, what was the plan? Like, what's the first thing you did, or what are the steps from leaving North Carolina, and what did you do?
Well, I kind of took a little detour. I was living in North Carolina and playing around in a couple bands and doing things that were more like touring cover bands. We were what you would call a top 40 band, and we were learning all of the stuff that was on the radio. And we'd do a couple of dance classics. We'd do boot scoot and boogie and that sort of thing. But we had a booking agent, and we were touring up and down the East Coast and a little bit out west. Got to go to Las Vegas and play some shows. That was a lot of fun. And I was a kid. I mean, I think I was maybe 19 at the time. And I met up with a couple of people that were playing in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And the music scene down there was really, really happening. Country music was budding there. And I knew I didn't have the money really to move to Nashville yet, but I always wanted to. But I took a little detour through Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I stayed down there for a couple years and really honed the live part of playing. And finally, about 2.5 years ago, finally made the jump and moved to Nashville. And I've loved every second of living out here. Some people hate it here, some people love it. I'm definitely one of the latter. I love Nashville. And country music is still very much alive and well here. I think Amos country music is a little nod to that. There are a lot of other country artists that are kind of coming up right now with me and our class, and they love steel, they love fiddle, they love the twang, they want the honky tonk sound, and they want the heartfelt lyrics, and that's definitely making a comeback. If I had moved to Nashville, maybe 5 years ago, there probably wouldn't have been much of a place for a guy like me who wears the cowboy hat and the boots, and that's me, that's who I am. That's what I feel comfortable wearing. That's my style. But that wasn't the look back then. It was the gold chain and the white sneakers, and that's cool. I mean, I never judge anybody based on what they wear. But for me, the look of the cowboy, the traditional, remembering that and keeping that tradition alive is a big part of me as an artist. And now that Nashville has gone back to that, I mean, you go downtown and you go to some of these clubs in Midtown and the local where I play every Friday, and you see about 15, 16 cowboy hats in one place, and you're like, all right, I get it. People are starting to come around to the old school. The old school is becoming the new school, which is cool for me.
Well, and so this is a good time to talk about your latest single that you have. I miss country music. And one line that I jotted down because it really had an impact on me as far as, thinking about what is this song really about? We used to country right, but now we country all wrong.
Well, I just did it because it rhymes.
Yeah, well, it's very catchy. And
Thank you.
of all the lines, that one stuck out to me. So good job on that. But also, you're talking about in the song some of the people that countryed right. So,
Yeah.
The early influences that you had, and you've mentioned some of them. How did you decide who to include in your song?
Well, one particular line in that song comes to mind when you ask me that question. It's in the second verse. And, it's basically, I think the line is, I'm not hating, I'm just saying that what's going on today Don't move me like Hank did when he sang about Lost Highway. And that line in particular, when Dalton, so I wrote that song with a buddy of mine named Dalton Elliotte, who I can't take credit for the title. He and I were buddying around at my house trying to write a song, and we couldn't really come up with anything. We kind of had some writer's block, and we got to talking, and he said, sometimes I feel like Nashville just doesn't get me. I just miss country music. And I was like, bulb went off in my head, and I was like, well, that's the song we need to write. And about an hour and a half later, we had that song written. And that line in particular that I just quoted from the song, we literally said those words at the same time. I think maybe I was like, I'm not hating, I'm just saying what's going on today. And then we both said it at the same time. Don't move me like Hank did when he sang about Lost Highway. It was literally, we said it together, and we knew that, and that's the thing. I mean, there is a lot of great country music out right now, but we can't forget where we came from. We can't forget the traditional part of it. I think that's one of the most endearing qualities of country music, is that country innovates and country is new, but country also stays true to itself, and it's got to. And every decade or so, it swings back. Pop country's no new phenomenon. Kenny Rogers had some poppy stuff. Dolly Parton had some poppy stuff. Alabama later on had some poppy stuff. And I've never been afraid of that stuff, but you gotta stick to your roots too. I'm a big believer in that.
Interesting. So do you like co-writing now that, you've written this song together, and you said moving to Nashville, or, if you go to a music scene, then that's probably you're going to be co-writing. Do
Yes.
you like that? Or how did you find Dalton Elliotte?
Well, so every now and then I do solo write still. Every now and then I'll write by myself just to kind of get it off my chest if I've got something important and it wakes me up in the middle of the night or something. But co-writing serves a couple of different purposes, I think, from what I've learned. Co-writing helps to bond people. I think it helps you find kindred spirits that are like-minded musicians with you. It's therapeutic, like I said before. It helps you to support each other and helps you make friends. And then there's also the aspect of the fact that this is a business, and it is a music business, and it's a lot easier for three talented people to get into a room and come up with something great than it is for one person to come up with something great. And it's almost like the more ingredients you add, the more personalities and the more talents you add into something. It's just like a band, or a producer. The more influences you have in something, the better product you're going to come out with. So co-writing in particular, I do enjoy it. Co-writing is easier with some people. The goal is to find your group and really support each other. You find your group of people, guys or girls that you love writing with, and hit that hard. You know what I'm saying? Because co-writing can be difficult if you're not similar personalities with somebody sometimes. But like Greg, the guy I mentioned earlier, my buddy from Kentucky, he is an amazing songwriter, and he and I and a guy named Hal O'Dell wrote a song called Drip. We wrote a song called Miss Gone by Morning, which was a single off of this Wanted Man album. And he actually, the two of them actually helped me write that Ballad of Righteous and Wrong song that I'm telling, the murder ballad, the cowboy song.
Cool. You had experiences where you just knew, so someone before that we interviewed said that co-writing was kind of like a first date, and you
Absolutely.
knew
That's a great analogy.
Work or not. So
that's a great analogy. Yeah, I've had some rough experiences with co-writing. I never want to call anybody out by name, but you it's not even a personal thing. It comes down to like dating. It really does. You click with certain people and you don't click with other people. And it doesn't mean you can't be friends with them, but it takes a certain bond to write a song with people. And I think whoever told you that is definitely correct. It is like a first date. That's a great analogy.
Well, so you've got a lot of songs that you're working on now, and are you touring with this song?
So we are. So I'm playing 5 shows a week in Nashville, and I tour about try to tour about a week of every month. Next year we're going to be touring probably a lot more than we did this year. Texas is a big market for us. Going to Texas a lot. Texas is great. Ohio, I play up in the Midwest a lot. Of course, I play in my home states. I play in North and South Carolina. We've even got some people trying to get us to go out west. So next year is going to be kind of taking us to the next level a little bit with touring. And like I said before, I've traveled all over the place and played, but never as an original act. Trey Calloway going on the road and doing shows. So I'm really, really looking forward to doing stuff like that next year. And it's coming up fast. This year is flying by, so I'm just trying to be prepared.
It surely is. Well,
It is.
Reed, do you have a last question that you would like to ask?
I can't think of anything, but
You can ask me whatever you want
I
to.
really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that, Reed.
You're welcome.
I've enjoyed talking to y'all as well.
Well, I will be, I'm now a fan because I really do like this song, and I'll be looking forward to hearing the ones that you've told us about and, the new ones that you're going to come up with. Like, how many, so you said you keep that, the little notebook in your phone, like, about how many ideas that you haven't written do you have, would you say?
I'd say probably a couple hundred, if I'm being honest. Probably a couple hundred. It's really difficult. The process of selecting songs for an album is painstaking because your songs are like your babies, and you love every single one of them, especially if it's a song that turns out really good. You're excited about it. You put it in the finished song folder, and you're like, man, I'm going to cut this one day. This one's going to be a slap. This one's going to be a slapper, a banger, whatever you want to call it. And, you get down to brass tacks when it's okay. We have to do 12 songs, and we've got 50 songs to pick from that I wrote. And then the producer wants to pitch you some songs that other people wrote, and they're great songs as well. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now for this new album is picking out, and how do you narrow down 6 to 12 songs out of 100? And I feel I couldn't even begin to imagine what somebody like George Strait goes through. I mean, I'm sure every time he goes to pick a new album, he's probably like, here we go again. They probably drop a big binder of songs on his desk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can't imagine. And the longer you do it, of course, the more you're going to have to narrow down from.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you, since you've been in Nashville, have you met any celebrity that left you kind of starstruck?
So I have met several famous country artists. One celebrity I met a long time ago was Richard Petty, the race car driver. And he really left a big impact on me. I was a kid at the time. This is when I was still living in North Carolina. And he was a super nice guy. But I've met Cole Swindell, I've met Mitchell Timpany, I've met a lot of the classic country artists. Probably the one that's made the biggest impact on me so far is a fellow named Terry McBride. Terry McBride is the lead singer of a band called McBride and the Ride. And Terry's written, and I'm sure you guys know who McBride and the Ride is, but Terry has written a bunch of songs. Of course, written a bunch of his own hits, but he's written a bunch of songs for Ronnie Dunn from Brooks and Dunn. And he and I have become buddies. We've started to write some songs together. And Terry is just the coolest cat I think I've ever met. He's just laid back all the time. And you can probably tell from me, I'm not the suavest guy. I'm a high energy type of person. He's very laid back and very just whatever comes, it's what it is. He's cool as a cucumber. And that's been a good influence on me. He is a phenomenal songwriter, super talented singer, and got the chance to open up for them a couple weeks ago at a show of theirs in Nashville at the Neon Steeple, which is at Chiefs. It's the new music venue that Eric Church has put in, and he brings in a lot of national acts. So I got the chance to open up for them. They killed it. I was so honored to be there, and the show went really well. I just went out there with me and my piano player, and we played a set for all these McBride and the Ride fans. They loved it. It was a lot of fun. So Terry's probably my favorite of the what I would call celebrities I've met. I've met Chris Young a couple times. I've met Let's see. I met Aaron Lewis one time. He was pretty cool. Trying to think of anybody else. I told you, I met Mitchell Timpany. He was really nice. Mitchell Timpany and I talked. He probably won't even remember this. If I ever see him again, I'll bring it up. But we were at a party, and he had had a couple drinks, and he just really opened up to me about the music business and telling me, gave me some really good advice. And super nice guy, very very nice guy. I've seen him a couple times, but most of the country artists, especially the ones that I've met, are very authentic, very genuine.
Great. Well, Matt, do you have a question before I get to ask the last one?
Yeah, so I was just curious. You said you play guitar and drums. Do you play any other instruments?
I attempt to play the harmonica. I'm not very good. I know a couple of licks on the harmonica, just enough to kind of dazzle a crowd for one or two songs, and then I put them back up. But I'm getting kind of rusty. I need to start practicing again. But guitar is my main instrument, and I played lead guitar in a couple of bands before I moved to Nashville, and that's a lot of work. I just want to be George Strait and hold an acoustic guitar and let the band do all the work, and sing the songs.
Are you a guitar collector?
Well, I have a couple of guitars. I wish I had the money to be a guitar collector. I'm still working on that part of the equation. I need more money if I'm gonna be a collector. But I have two Martins that are my pride and joys. I've got two Telecasters, two American Tellies that I love, and they're nothing fancy. They're nothing special. You know, they're the Martin. My D28 is my most expensive guitar, and it was a gift from a friend of mine. Actually, I'm glad you brought this up. That I get to talk about him. That my song "Horses in Heaven," that was the single before I Miss Country Music, was actually written about him. He died of cancer last year, and he had gifted me that guitar to show his appreciation to me as a friend, and took me out. I guess he'd gotten some raise at work, and he was doing really good financially. And he asked me one day at a party or a get together at my mom and dad's house, and he said, "If you could have any guitar in the world, what would it be?" And I said, "If I'm being realistic, it'd probably be a D28." The next day, he took me to the Guitar Center and bought me a D28.
Wow.
And I never forget that. He didn't never want anything in return. He just was a great friend, and he passed away last year. So Horses in Heaven is about him and another friend of mine that I lost to last year. So I play that guitar in memory of Scott.
I actually live probably 20 minutes away from the Martin Guitar Factory.
Oh, man, you got to take me on a tour. Let's go.
Yeah, anytime you're up here in Pennsylvania, we'll see what we can do.
All right. Very cool, Matt.
All right, I'm going to let Kat ask one more question, and then we're going to let you go.
Okay.
All right, my last question. Do you have any ritual that you do before? I know you said that when you were younger, like you were nervous and you had like the one leg shake, but do you have any ritual now that you must do before you go on stage?
Well, I kind of sort of do. I want to tell this one quick story, just a quick story. When I played baseball, so baseball players are notoriously superstitious. And so when I played baseball, I always had to have whatever the two main colors of our uniforms, like if it was green and yellow, or red and blue, I would wear one red sock and one blue sock. And I had to do that before every show. And nobody could ever see because I had back when I was playing baseball, it was the long pants look, the kind of baggy pants at the bottom look, not the high knee look. But I would always wear mismatched socks. That was a big ritual that I had. And now today, I would say it's more along the lines of maybe a quick prayer. I in the car on the way to the gig, I'll talk to God and pray a little bit, usually before the shows. I still don't pray enough, but I need to start praying more. But I definitely talk to God before the shows and just ask him to, make sure that we stay safe and everything. And sometimes the guys will do a drink. I don't drink too much anymore, but sometimes the guys will have a shot before the show and that kind of stuff. And it is a lot of fun. Maybe we ought to create. Maybe I'm open to ideas about some rituals. Maybe you guys can give me some ideas.
We've heard quite a few, Matt. What are some do you remember, like?
What are some of the ones you guys have heard? I need some ideas.
Shots are always good, apparently.
Right.
Right. Praying that you don't screw things up. That's a good one. Yeah. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. Kat, do you remember any?
Yeah. Now that we've asked the question.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
We'll have to go back through the archives and see. But
Well, yeah. Let me know. Y'all shoot me a text and let me know what you think. What you find out.
We'll have to, yeah, because we've had like as we heard them, I thought like, wow, that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Reed, do you have a ritual? Anything you do before you perform? Maybe he's got something creative.
That'd be great, buddy.
I don't really do anything. I'll just pray to God to help me and stuff. That's probably what I do.
Amen, buddy. Never do too much of that. You can never do too much of that.
That's true.
Answer. Both of you have come up with that one. So, well, it has been really fun talking to you about your new single, and can't wait to have you back and hear all the backstories and the success of the new songs.
Thank you, Kat. I really appreciate y'all having me today. Y'all have been phenomenal, and I've enjoyed talking to you. I hope you'll have me back.
Oh, definitely. The next year we want to, when you're touring all that time, you still have to make a little bit of time for us, and we will hear about the new songs.
That sounds like a plan, y'all.
And we'll find out what your pre-show ritual turns out to be.
Yeah, we'll have to, when we're doing more tour dates, we'll have to come. Me and the guys will have to come up with something.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll have to come up with something.
All right.
Maybe got to play a round of golf before every show or something.
That sounds like work.
Yes, sir, it does.
The shot's a lot easier.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Trey. Thank you so much for coming by. We really appreciate it.
You guys have been great. I'll talk to you soon.